Good morning, everyone, and welcome to What Is It Wednesday Halloween edition. This Saturday is, of course, Halloween, and we are always happy to talk about a very fun subject here at the Barnes Museum. Today, we are going to be answering one of the most frequently asked questions at the Barnes Museum that we get from guests. Is the Barnes Museum haunted? Well, two paranormal investigations were conducted here at the museum by the Eastern Connecticut Paranormal Society, one in April of 2019 and a second one on Halloween night itself last year of 2019. These are the only two investigations that have ever been conducted here at the house, and I need to say that these investigations left us even more excited about the history and the happenings here at the Barnes Museum. So, let's say when the team came in, I want to talk a little bit about the setup first. We weren't sure what kind of equipment they were going to bring. This is the first time that I know myself had been involved in a paranormal investigation, and they came in with video equipment, lines and lines and lines of cabling. They came in with EVPs, spirit boxes, temperature gauges, really anything that you can possibly think of. They were very respectful of the house and the space and the historic integrity of the museum while they were setting up the equipment. The first investigation primarily focused on the main floor of the house with just a couple of the rooms upstairs, the outbuilding of the barn and the attic. That was the first investigation. The second investigation, we tried to stay directly to the second floor because there was a little bit of evidence that we wanted to explore further. So once everything was set up, the lights went out. These investigations were conducted in the middle of the night. So we were walking around the museum in the pitch darkness. That was the first time I've done that in the pitch dark. Typically I have lights on when we're all here at the museum, but we went dark. There were a few hot spots that were found in the museum, and this investigation both investigations gave a lot of validation, not only to what the team was experiencing and feeling, but from what staff and patrons have felt in the house throughout the years. And one of the hot spots was the butler's pantry. Typically, I walk from the kitchen through to the dining room, especially into the goblet room, many times a day, whether I am watering plants, whether I am dealing with the goblets, it's just whether we're giving a tour, we are walking that route quite often. And there's always something about the butler's pantry that when you walk by, you almost expect out of the corner of your eye that you're going to see someone there rattling around in the dishes or whatnot. So the butler's pantry, when they walked by, they stopped and they said, "Hey, this is what we feel." And I went, "Yeah, that's pretty spot on to what we feel." We went up into the attic of the museum, and I know we haven't brought you behind the scenes up into the attic yet. Hopefully someday on a future What Is It Wednesday, we'll be able to do that. We had a very exciting session up there. Upstairs in the unfinished attic, it's an entire third floor walk-up attic to the house. One of the spaces up there is a quarantine room. And if you were with us last week for all about Alice's What Is It Wednesday, you'll know that Alice was very sickly most of her life. They called her the Peanut. She had a lot of respiratory issues, and unfortunately, to keep her as safe as they possibly could, they did create a quarantine room upstairs. So when you walk up the stairs, it's not like there's a big sign that says, "Hey, I'm a quarantine room," upstairs in the attic. You walk up and it's just a little closed off room with a door. And when the team walked up, they said, "That room, what's that room? That room's used for something else other than it's used for right now." And we hadn't opened it yet. We hadn't given them an explanation or a tour. And we said, "Yes, you were right. It was used for something else." And then later, when they asked for clarification on their questions, we told them exactly what it was, a quarantine room. They walked in the back hallway of the Barnes Museum upstairs. If you go from the north bathroom to Emma's room past the office, there's a tiny back hallway with a lot of photographs on the walls. And typically, that's an interesting spot because if one of us is sitting in the office, we might hear something out in the hallway. Sometimes the attic door opens. A lot of these things, though, can be explained away. The attic door opens because it sticks and unsticks depending on the humidity and the heat of the outside and inside the house, and especially up in the attic. So when the attic door opens and closes, we're very used to that right now. It doesn't creep us out. And we know that's not a spirit walking in and out. It's just what the door does. And the heating pipes in the back hall do let off clicking noises that sometimes do sound like footsteps. So we kind of can, again, just talk away some of that evidence of in the back hall. However, the feelings that we get walking in the back hall were validated by the team. The staff here always feels like there's somebody walking right behind them, always wondering, hey, what are you doing? Where are we going? Is a little bit of the feeling you get walking in that back hallway. And when they walked the back hallway, they said there are two young girls who are walking down the back hallway and they're wondering what we're doing, and they're busybodies, and they're kind of trying to figure out what's going on here at the house. So it really did that. There's one instance in particular that has happened personally to me in the back hallway. There'll be times where when the previous curator was here, the two of us would be in the house, and I'd walk from the office down the back hallway, down the staircase, and I would hear her call my name. And I would walk back up the hallway and I'd be like, hey, did you call me? And she'd be like, no, I didn't call you. I know I heard my name. I know someone called me, but we've never seen anything. There's nothing to be seen necessarily. We haven't gotten an image of a spirit or a ghost. Nothing's been moved. Typically when the light fixtures flicker here, it's because the light bulb's kind of going, or possibly the wiring is old because it's from 1910 and we've got to tighten things up a little bit. So there's always fun things to feel, but we have to figure out, what is actually happening because of a reason of the house and what is a spirit reason. And I feel that the team at Eastern Connecticut Paranormal Society did a beautiful job with that. They come in and they don't do a lot of research. In any of the investigations that they do, they don't want to know a whole ton about a space before they come in because they don't want to be tainted by that information. I was very impressed by that. And if we were about to offer information, they were very quick to stop us and say, I don't want to know. I don't want to hear anything about it. I want to feel it myself, and then we can discuss it later and see if this is something that might have happened in the house that you can validate or say, no, wasn't there. So I was very impressed with the team. I was also very impressed with the team on how quickly they were ready to discredit some of the information that they found. In particular with paranormal investigations, and you always see people saying, I caught an image of something and it might be one of those orbs that you see. Well, in this room, you see these orb lights around me and whatnot. You can imagine how easy it is, especially in the dark, to pick up an orb if you have these cameras going on. The dust, even walking through the room, dust that you kick up, dust particles that we can't see with the naked eye, can be picked up by a camera, even a camera without a light on it, and it comes up as an orb. For the most part, every single orb that they found that I was upstairs in the office looking at their computer screens on, I was getting all excited about. I was like, oh, orbs everywhere. And they're like, no, that's nothing, that's nothing. But there was one orb that they saw in this room, the front parlor right here. And it kind of went over from the music room and went and whoops up in that direction. They spent a lot of time analyzing that orb because this room is right up against the front porch and it goes up along Main Street. So they really wanted to make sure that that was not a light coming from a reflection from one of the many cars that pass by, even in the middle of the night. But the thing with this orb is that it moved just a little bit differently. And you can see when you go and check out their website at Eastern Connecticut, EasternCTParanormal.com, exactly how that orb moves just a little differently. I think one of the things that impressed me the most about the entire investigation is when we were out in the attic of the barn. And again, if you go back to a couple of What Is It Wednesdays, we were visiting the outbuildings of the Barnes Museum, and the attic upstairs in the barn is chock full of a lot of overflow construction material, boxes full of unused items from the family house, just extra storage area. Well, we were sitting up in the barn, and we were working with flashlights to see if we could get responses with flashlights. We were working with spirit boxes and EVPs, I believe. But at one point, one of the investigators kept saying that there was a little boy coming through to him. And the little boy kept saying that he comes here with his father, and that his father works here, works with the horses, works with the grounds of the building, and he loves to help his father out with the house. And then this investigator looked directly at me and he said, "And you use his tools." And I went, and I just kind of smiled, and I didn't say anything because they had told us not to say anything. What was so unique about that story is that no one knows anything about that, and no one knows it's true except for the staff here at the Barnes Museum. And at the time, there were only 2 of us who knew that story, who were working here. What had happened is Eamon and Sylvia Bradley and Bradley Barnes had a caretaker. And that caretaker would bring his son, and his son would help him out. They lived close by, so they were able to walk here, and they would bring the tools and they would work on the house. And then when the father retired, the son took over as the caretaker and the groundskeeper of the Barnes Museum. We know that that story of how they worked here on the grounds is true because we heard it straight from the son, the second caretaker here at the museum. What nobody knows is that I have used his tools. As the previous caretaker here at the Barnes Museum, if I had been out in the barn, sometimes I would reach for one of those old screwdrivers really quickly, and I would use it to just pick up something, maybe turn a screw really quickly. I have used these tools. We don't document that, haven't had that documented in that part of the history. There is truly no way anyone would have known that other than the employees here at the Barnes Museum. That's not something that could be researched. And I thought that was very spot on and very unique. And it gave me a chills up my spine a little bit. So all told, when the Eastern Connecticut Paranormal Society looked at the evidence of both the investigations in 2018 and 2019, they decided that the Barnes Museum is not haunted. There's nothing malevolent here. There's nothing evil here. And I have to say, I've been here by myself sometimes. I've been here with other people. No one who's ever walked through the house, even people who are empathic or mediums or have felt things, have ever said there's something bad in the house. Typically, they always just say, there's something there. There's something watching, there's something there. There's a feeling that someone else is here. And that's 100% the feeling that we get. The Eastern Connecticut Paranormal Society calls this house spirited, and I have to agree. I would say that this house is 100% spirited, and we hope that the spirits are very happy with what we're doing here and getting the word out about their history and the history of Southington. The good vibes that we feel, I think, also have to do with everyone who comes to visit the museum. Every single person who walks in is in awe of this beautiful collection, this one-of-a-kind museum. Every single object, for the most part, that we have in this house, like I'd say 99.9% of the hundreds of thousands of artifacts we have are original to the family. Nothing's a reproduction. Nothing's needed to be brought in. We have this beautiful time capsule, and all the good energy that people bring in with them, being surprised and happy with what they see, are, I think, helping with the good vibes of the house. Remember, the Barnes Museum is open for tours, but we are following CDC guidelines for safety. So If you're going to come, please go online and schedule your tour, groups of 4 or less, and wear your mask and bring it with you. Feel for yourself. Come figure out if you can feel anything here at the Barnes Museum. And for a full report of both the paranormal investigations that were done at the Barnes Museum, and for information on all of the other investigations that the Eastern Connecticut Paranormal Society has done, make sure to follow them on social media, but also go to their website at easternctparanormal.com. Have a great day and happy Halloween!